Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our first presenter, Arianna Huffington.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and I want to talk to you about Kirsten. By the time I met her in 2010, it was actually a Sunday evening at the Regency Hotel for a drink. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? I had already been admiring her for many years. I had been admiring what is so special about her, that she's so fearlessly committed to improving women's lives, to helping women and men tap into their full potential. And she does it all with such ease and such charm that you actually wonder and think to yourself, if only this person were in a position to make a difference, like a senator. And then you remember that, thank God, this person is in a position to make a difference, and you wonder, how the hell did this happen? How did the system actually let someone like Kirsten get through? We are so used to leaders making terrible decisions, leaders with very high IQs, but are having a really hard time tapping into their own wisdom and their own empathy. So when you are with Kirsten, you feel like you've discovered something that had been rumored to exist, but you are beginning to doubt it. A political leader who actually has the wisdom to lead, to do good, to find solutions, and to help us tap into our better angels. And just another thing that is kind of superficial, but I want you to know it. Last October, I was interviewing her for a panel at Adweek, and she walked into a green room wearing a very chic black dress and not a stitch of makeup. And I thought to myself, A, she looks great, and B, that takes a lot of self-confidence, and I love that. In fact, her book, Off the Sidelines, captures that self-confidence, because in it she's willing to be vulnerable and personal in exactly the way she is in real life. She urges women to get involved, to get off the sidelines the way she did. She challenges us all to look outward, but at the same time to look inside ourselves, because she writes and she often talks about how often it's our own inner doubts and our own inner judgments and lack of confidence, what I call the obnoxious roommate living in our heads, that stops us from taking risks and moving on. And in the Senate, she embodies the bipartisan spirit that has disappeared in Washington. She's really collaborated with practically every Senate Republican running for president, including Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio. And sadly, I doubt they're going to be bragging about it in Iowa and New Hampshire, but it shows what Kirsten is all about. And she has been able to work on a national paid leave program, helping pass the 9/11 health bill, and repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and also, of course, her amazing work on sexual assaults in the military. Madeleine Albright once said that there is a special place in hell reserved for women who don't support other women. And that means that the converse is also true, that there is a special place in heaven for women who support other women. And that's where Kirsten Gillibrand is going to find herself. But before heaven, there are the Matrix Awards. And I'm now delighted to call on Senator Gillibrand to come to the stage and receive her award.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove it my life song.
Thank you, Arianna, not just for those beautiful and extremely generous words, but for your amazing friendship. You are such a role model. You are an inspiration for so many of us, and I'm very grateful for everything you do in your career at the Huffington Post with all your books, which I have read. You've given us advice on everything we need to know in our lives, especially about how to get enough sleep and how to make good decisions. I'm incredibly grateful to be here at the Matrix Awards. I am humbled to be given this award alongside of the extraordinary women sitting behind me and also the extraordinary women who have been honored before. Each of the women here and so many of you here today are role models. You're role models for young women and girls all across the world, and that role is so important. So what I wanted to share with you today is a few of the role models in my life that helped me get here and choose public service. The first role model who was most important to me was my grandmother. She was a woman who never went to college, but she knew that women's voices mattered. And as a young secretary in our state legislature in Albany, she decided to make a difference. And she organized all the women of the legislature to get involved in politics. Together, they learned how to go door to door, envelope stuff, phone bank, and elect candidates that shared their values. And those women over time became powerful. You couldn't be elected in Albany without the blessing of my grandmother and all her lady friends. The second great role model in my life was my mother. And she was the queen of modern day multitasking. I remember her stretching the phone cord as far as it would go while she's making dinner, while she's closing the details of an adoption case. She was a woman who not only shot the Thanksgiving turkey, but made the Thanksgiving turkey. And by the time she was my age, she was a second-degree black belt. So what she taught me was that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to find your own way, and that you can do anything you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. The last role model for me is obviously Hillary Clinton. I remember being a young lawyer, sitting, doing my work, and watching her go to Beijing, where she gave that important speech, "Women's rights are human rights." That day I woke up and said, I know I have to do public service. I have to get involved in politics. The first event I went to, she was the speaker. She looked out in a room like this and said, every day decisions are being made in Washington. And if you're not part of those decisions and you don't like what they decide, you have no one to blame but yourself. That was a moment when I was just a young woman standing in the back of the room, but I really felt like she was talking to me, and I started to sweat and think, oh no, Hillary Clinton's telling me I have to run for office. But that's what role models do. That's what mentors do. They challenge us, they help us, they guide us, and that's what all of us can do. We have to fight for things we believe in, like equal pay for equal work, like paid leave so that we too can care for our families and do our jobs at the same time. So for all of us here today, our voices matter. What you do with your time matters. What you speak out about matters. So please be heard. Thank you so much.